Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Prodcast channel where we discuss careers in tech, job search experience for immigrants in the US. I'm your host, Anna Naumova, an immigrant by myself and a former product manager at Apple. I'm thrilled to be here to share my knowledge and insights with all of you. I love hearing success stories, especially now when the job market is difficult, but any effort is paid off. Recently, we learned a story from a former Amazon recruiter, Victoria, who got a job offer after 6 months of searching. Additionally, Anna, a former data analyst at TikTok, who hired assistants to apply for her, just got a job offer as well. My guest today was laid off in January, went to Mexico to relax and practice dancing, and started a job offer 2 months and started a new job 2 months after. This looks super fast. I know people who have been on the job market for 6 months and are still looking for a job. Let's learn how that happened and get valuable insights, tips, and tricks that how you can land your job very quickly. Stay tuned. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you, please subscribe to my channel. Each week, I release new video covering various topics about product management, job search, and immigration to the US. If you need to create a perfect resume or LinkedIn profile, please visit annanaumova.com for more information. You can find the link to my website in the video description below. All right. My guest today is Eric Aguirre, a senior product manager at Splash, an ex-financial analyst at Morgan Stanley, and also author of the book, How to Become a Product Manager. Hi, Eric. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Anna. Happy to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I met Eric on Product Conference in Austin. So that's he shared with me his amazing story, and I decided to share with you. So, Eric, can you please tell me about yourself, about your background, and definitely about your book?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the kind intro. A little bit about myself. I've been in tech for about 4.5 years now. I have been working as a product manager for a little bit longer than that in a variety of different industries and capacities. I started off my career in Wall Street. I went to school for finance and business administration and made the leap into the financial industry for about a year before I just discovered that it wasn't really for me and wasn't really the perfect fit for what I wanted to do with my life. So made a bit of a shift into the travel industry and worked in the travel industry for about 4 years, where I learned a lot of skills, was able to connect with a lot of people, and began really carving out a niche for myself in the product management side of things. The travel company that I worked with was a startup at the time. So with most startups, you are playing a lot of different roles. You are playing a little bit of marketing, a little bit of sales, a little bit of website copywriting. And the area that I really resonated with was being able to build things that customers really enjoyed. And soon and eventually I discovered that that is essentially what product management is at its root, building things that customers find value in. So started off exploring product management at that stage. And after the travel industry was no longer in alignment with me and what I wanted to do with my career, I made a shift into technology and into the e-commerce space. So I started working for a really great company at the time and was able to really get my feet wet with software and with really understanding what building products for this new industry is all about. And it was a really wonderful experience. After my time working in e-commerce, I made a shift into the blockchain industry, which aligns very well with the interests that I had and continue to have around emerging tech and all of the different exciting developments that are going on in the world right now. And after a stint at in the blockchain world, I made a move into event marketing, which is where I'm at right now with Splash. within Splash, I've been working in a variety of different products, and yeah, I'm very excited to share a little bit more about the experience and anything else that I can do to support.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have really diverse background. It's super interesting. You have like financial background, you have travel, you have e-commerce and blockchain. So we will dig deeper into that when we switch the topic about like interviews and selecting the companies, because I think domain expertise is very important so far. So, but yeah, like tell me, tell me please about your book before we get started digging into the job search topic. I think
Sure,
it's
yeah.
amazing to like release a book. I think it's like
Thank you.
it's
Thank
cool.
you. Yes, it was actually one of the projects that I'm sure we'll get into, but during the time that I was laid off and until finding my next role, I wanted to make sure that I was still honing my skills and really being able to share anything that I've learned at the same time. So the book that I published on Amazon is essentially helping individuals get into product management and understanding just some of the foundational tips and tricks for how to break into the field and just how to develop a network of people who will support you and help you grow into the product manager that will be able to lock down a position. So I've been able to successfully interview over the course of a few times in my career now. And I just wanted to distill some of the lessons that I've learned and be able to present that to a wider audience. So yeah, it's a relatively easily digestible ebook available on Amazon, and it's targeting people who are interested in the product management field, want to learn a little bit more about the basics, and want to learn how they can start developing the skill set to ultimately break into the field.
Cool. And you mentioned that you created this book like over the time you were laid off, and it was only 2 months. How did you get it like to write a book for 2 months?
Yeah, I was able to distill a lot of the information that I've gathered over the last few months. It was a good journey in being able to understand all of the things that I've captured, the knowledge that I've captured, and just put it all into a format that is easily digestible. Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a passion project, and I didn't have a full-time job, so I had a decent amount of time, and fortunately was able to churn that out pretty quickly.
Interesting. So yeah, I will definitely leave a link to your ebook in the description to this video. And if you guys want to read this book, yeah, please do. And also, I think that's an interesting topic. If you also want to cover the topic how to create an ebook, I think that's super interesting topic. Yeah, please leave a comments. Maybe we can record another session with Eric to learn how to create actually a book. All right, so let's switch the topic to our like job search. So how and when did you enter the job market in 2023? What happened?
Yeah, so at the end of January, I was laid off from the blockchain company that I mentioned earlier. Um, at that time, I had a decent amount of experience in product management, but there was a pretty big downturn happening within the market. So it was something that was partially unexpected, but there's a lot of things that are unexpected in life, and you just kind of have to take them in stride. So when that news happened, I entered the job market, and I think a lot of people take different approaches to what their immediate next steps are. And I think for me, it was a time to just sit back, reflect and absorb all of the lessons that I've been able to gather over the last few years, and essentially plan out my next path, plan out my next steps. And that's exactly what I did for a little bit.
Yeah, let's dig into that. But before we dig into your like strategy, so how did you feel about like when you received this news? Did you were you aware about the job market situation at the time? So like tell me about that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely aware of the job market at the time. I think for a while I felt a little, I guess, immune to it. I didn't feel like it was going to happen to me, even though I was seeing a lot of big tech companies going through these rounds. But eventually it did. So it did reach me. And there was definitely moments of questioning self-worth. There were moments of just being uncertain about my life and career path. There were moments of just general sadness. And I think those are all pretty normal to feel when you've invested a lot of your time, energy, effort into something, and it doesn't work out the way that you would have expected. But with that, again, there comes a lot of lessons from those feelings and what you decide to do next.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the funny fact that I noticed that you were laid off on January 24th, and I was laid off on January 24th. So we were
Wow.
laid off at the same day with you.
A
Yeah.
lot of shock that day.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Yep.
Monday, right? It was Monday.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Monday. I remember like it was like 8 a.m., maybe 8:30 a.m. right before I was supposed to start my day. I opened my computer. I received a call. And that's like, oh, that news was released to me. And yeah, I agree about the feeling. I was like shocked at the beginning. And so then I started like thinking, okay, what should I do next? So some problem solving skills turned
Right.
on
Right. Yes.
immediately. Cool. So, and tell me, what did you decide to do right after you receiving this news? Did you immediately start your job search, or did you do anything interesting?
Definitely did not immediately start the job search. I'm trying to think back to that day specifically. I can't remember the specifics about what I did in the first few hours and that first day, but I do remember taking a moment to just pause and just kind of breathe and just accept. Um, so I think I probably just did things that felt natural to me at that time. Definitely did not start digging into the job search or looking into any of those options for a little bit of time. I gave myself time to, I guess, grieve and accept whatever this new chapter was about to bring. And with that, it allowed me to make decisions with a clearer mind. So within the first few days, I think it was just being with myself, kind of enjoying time with friends and family, and just kind of speaking about what just happened, and beginning to gather and put some sense behind some of my thoughts.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And tell me about your trip to Mexico. I know that you decided to go to Mexico. How that happened? How did you come up to this idea?
Yeah, so the trip to Mexico was already planned before I
Oh,
ended up getting laid off. But that was actually something that I had to make a decision about, was whether or not I wanted to keep moving forward with that trip. I was working with a fully remote company, so working from Mexico wouldn't have been a problem. So the plan was to just go to Mexico and work remotely. But after getting laid off, I just went to Mexico and just kind of took a bit of a sabbatical instead. The decision did come up whether or not to continue with the trip, and ultimately I did, and I think that that was the right decision because it was a little more in line with just giving myself time to just sit, accept, relax, reflect before jumping into something from an emotional position or a scarcity mindset, which I think is very important to not be in as much as you possibly can when you're making big life decisions. So I think, yeah, ultimately, I'm very glad that I went forward with the trip to Mexico. I think it was very helpful to kind of plan and plot out the next few steps of my journey.
yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. And how long was your trip to Mexico?
I was there for about a month and a half.
Month and a half. Wow.
Yeah, it was also
So,
a really, it was also almost well timed because I didn't have income coming in for a while, and Mexico is a little bit more affordable than Austin, Texas, where I was living at the time. So again, also felt like almost like a universal alignment that it was meant to encourage me to keep going in that direction.
yeah, and I'm actually dreaming about a trip to Mexico, but I have issue with my passport. I'm
Ah,
still waiting for my passport like since March. Yeah, so I don't
you'll
know
get
what's
out
going
there.
on. They probably lost it. I don't know.
Yeah, you'll get out there, I'm sure.
But I'm going to Puerto Rico.
Great, great, great,
Yeah,
and
next
beautiful place
next
as
week.
well.
Next week. Yeah. So I
Amazing.
have a vacation as well. So
Amazing.
perfect. Tell me about your time in Mexico. Did you do anything for job search in Mexico?
Yeah, not
Or you're just
really.
relaxing? Yeah.
It was mostly so I think I was very blessed to have made a few decisions earlier in the years running up to not having a stream of income to be able to save up, have an emergency fund, have savings so that I felt enough comfort to know that, hey, I could take a little bit of time off without having to rush into something. So I think that was a very crucial part of having the ability to just take some time to relax and reflect on what I want to do next. So yeah, when I was in Mexico, there were a few interviews that I hopped on, mostly exploratory interviews. But I think for the most part, it was just enjoying where I was, enjoying the moment, enjoying what um, I guess the silver lining that came with not having a full-time role and being in Mexico, which was essentially time freedom. I didn't have to be somewhere for 10 hours a day, 8, 10 hours a day. I could just enjoy my time in this place. So instead of calling it unemployment, I feel like I shifted that framing and just called it a sabbatical. And I took time off and I relaxed and I was able to just enjoy the moment that I was living in.
That's perfect mindset. I think that's very important because like feeling unemployed is kind of like desperate. Yeah, I don't like these
Mm.
feelings.
Yeah.
And I use this time for developing my business, recording videos, developing my podcast, my channels, and other parts. So for me, it's like a shift. Like Anna, it's your time to try being kind of self-employed at the
Yeah.
time. So I think it's really a very healthy approach. I like that you mentioned that. So when did you start actively applying?
Um, it took I probably took a few weeks to maybe a month or so plus um after getting the news. Yeah, I definitely took a little bit of time. Again, was very fortunate to not be in a place where I really needed to rush things, and I wanted to make sure that whatever that next step was going to be something that felt a lot more aligned with what I wanted to do, how I wanted to invest my time, who I wanted to be surrounded with. So I didn't want to come from, again, that desperate, scarcity minded mindset. So I took my time and I was able to just become a little bit more honest with myself with what I wanted to do next and how I wanted to invest time. And that's what I did for the first few weeks. It was a lot of um, time and stillness to determine what that next step should look like. And in that, I didn't see the need to apply or really be interviewing all that much. And then when I eventually did start feeling a little bit more clear, I started going down that path, and things started, fortunately, moving very quickly and in the right direction relatively fast.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and you mentioned you wanted to understand what you're gonna do, like what you want to do in your next role. So like, so what was your strategy, application strategy, or job search strategy? So what decision did you come to?
Yeah, I think if I were to summarize the application strategy or job search strategy, it would essentially boil down to quality over quantity. I think
Mm-hmm.
that there's a lot of people who just kind of see the easily accessible Monster, Indeed, LinkedIn um, ways of applying to jobs by just clicking a couple buttons. But I took a more qualitative approach. I didn't just send out hundreds of applications and hope for the best. I think I targeted a little bit more the companies and the people that I saw alignment with. And from there, I was able to make a more refined list of areas where I wanted to focus my time and attention. And with that, I was able to craft better pitches, better introductory messages, better resumes, better cover letters, everything that I think helped give me a little bit of an advantage when ultimately getting on the interviews that would ultimately and hopefully yield a position.
Perfect, perfect. Let's dig deep into this quality approach. I really like that, and I have another interview with Victoria Rubanovic. She is a product manager at Amazon, and she shared her experience with quality approach, and she applied only for 40 position as far as I remember, and got a job offer. And yeah, if you haven't watched this video yet, please do. I will leave the link in the video description. So you said that you were very selective to the companies. How did you select those companies to apply to?
Yeah, so at first, I was coming from the blockchain world and very interested in emerging tech and very interested in that space. So I started in that industry. I knew that I had an interest in that, and I wanted to continue to explore that if the stars aligned and if there was another opportunity available in that industry. After some interviews, after some conversations, it just ultimately did not work out for something within the blockchain industry. So I started to expand my search at that point to other industries, to touch other places that, again, felt aligned with me, felt like there was an interest, an inherent interest in myself. And after some time, I again just started targeting companies and people who were either voices that I followed or companies that were building things that I wanted to be supporting. And while expanding that search, I was able to gather a little bit more momentum with actually getting replies, with getting conversations going. And the way that I approached that was just essentially, I leveraged LinkedIn a lot. So LinkedIn was a very powerful tool for me. And I did end up paying for the premium version of it to get a little bit more insights, to get a little bit more tools and functionality. And it was able to allow me to reach out to people and just start conversations and engage with them. And probably 90% of the time, I did not receive a reply back. But the 10% of the time that I did, there was some traction, some hope. So I was able to get some conversations with some pretty big names in the tech space, and it allowed me to get my foot in the door and continue to craft my story in a better way. Because when you have to step up and work for an interview with a company like Robinhood, or a company that you really look up to, Apple, Amazon, whatever it is, you tend to present and craft your interviewing approach, your narrative as well as possible. And whether or not it works out for that company, you've become a little bit better just from that process. So yeah, I think that I would certainly encourage more of a qualitative approach, regardless of how much time it takes, because ultimately the connections that you'll yield will also be more impactful as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So I just want to double check. Did you pay for LinkedIn premium, or you did not?
I believe I did. I paid for probably a month or two. Yeah. And it was helpful in terms of just like being able to reach out to people that I saw as potential opportunities and gatekeepers.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you mentioned that blockchain companies like blockchain industry didn't work out for you. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Why it didn't happen? Didn't work?
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. I just applied to a lot of companies that were in the space. Also, for those familiar with crypto, they're probably aware that right now it's a bear market and there isn't too much excitement or money going into the space. So it was a little bit more competitive, and I did get a few interviews with companies in crypto, but they just didn't go anywhere. So yeah, either I got rejected after the first round, or didn't hear back after a few follow-ups. So yeah, it just ultimately didn't work out because there just wasn't an opportunity that presented itself. Excuse me.
I see what you want. So, and you decided to expand your companies. Where did you expand? Like, which other companies did you consider, like industries, or what was interesting for you?
Yeah, I essentially just followed my interests, followed whatever stood out to me as something that sounded cool, which was also a fun place to be. Again, just trying to find silver linings in the moment. And one of those silver linings was, well, I can kind of take my experience and recreate that and apply it to whatever I think might be interesting at the time. So an example of an industry that I've never worked in, but was hiring for a senior product manager was something in the solar industry. And another one was something that was utilizing drones to deliver medicine in third world countries. So just some really cool, innovative ideas that excited me. And yeah, I tossed my hat in the ring and applied. And sometimes I would get a call back, and other times I wouldn't. But it was, again, part of the fun, I guess, of this chapter was being able to explore some of those interests of mine.
That's cool. So I'm also thinking about like how to approach the company selection, because you have a very diverse background and the company might be in this industry. So did you select, did you apply for the company outside of your expertise, and how this company like responded to that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I specifically sought out an industry that was outside of my expertise. I think what I did seek was interest, was something that looked and felt like an interesting opportunity. So Splash, for example, is in event marketing. I've never worked in event marketing before, but the reason that Splash stood out to me and really excited me was the culture that they presented, and the culture that they were able to pitch me on during the whole interviewing process. And after being with them for a couple months now, it has lived up to its potential, and it has lived up to everything that I heard during the interviewing process. The people are really great. They really care about you. They're empathetic. They're compassionate. And one of the things that was really important to me that I was able to understand and uncover during that sabbatical period was that I wanted to be around people who inspired me, who supported me, who ultimately were invested in my growth and whatever I wanted to do next. So I found that alignment with my current company, and yeah, I'm very happy to be there.
Awesome. So you also mentioned that you have this, because you have this quality approach, you reached out people to like find referrals. Or so tell me about this application strategy. What did you use for applications? How did you reach out those people? How did you look for those people? Just a little bit more about specifically applications.
Sure. For the application piece and how I kind of tackled the whole quality approach was, again, I think my first step was always LinkedIn. I started off there, and I started off with exploring what companies seemed interesting to me, what companies were in the space that I wanted to be involved in, like we just talked about. And from there, just conducted a little bit more searching around the people who were currently working there, who were currently innovating and making decisions there. And specifically, the people that I targeted when I was on the job search was recruiters, people who were in HR, people who were responsible for making people decisions for the company, and also product managers or anybody in product. So I would essentially go to LinkedIn, just to be very tactical and specific. Go to LinkedIn. Let's say I wanted to target that solar company. I would go to their page. I'd toggle over to the people side of the company page, and I would just search for product manager or product or people or recruiting, and a ton of people would come up. I would open up maybe 10 or 20 tabs for each person, and then send out a message and just send them a quick note and let them know, hey, I'm a senior product manager. I'm interested in what you guys are building. I've done X, Y, and Z research about your company, and this is what I think I can provide for you. And again, 90% of the time I wouldn't hear back, but 10% of the time I would get a message back, and that would sometimes evolve into a conversation, and sometimes that would evolve into an interview, and ultimately a couple times it turned into an offer.
Awesome, awesome. That's a really smart approach to reach out recruiters and product managers and not just like let them know, oh, I'm looking for a job, blah, blah, blah. So you did research, right? And you provided them some valuable information about your research, right? Is that correct assumption?
Of course. Yeah, it's I think it's really important that you're not just approaching people with asks, because
Mm.
um you don't want to give somebody more work to do. You don't want somebody to have to jump through hoops to put their name on the line for this random stranger that
Yeah.
approached them on LinkedIn. They might be the kindest, most generous person in the world, but you also have to make their job a little easier too. So give them a little bit of reason to vouch for you. Give them a reason to invest 10, 15 minutes of their time into replying to you or into um, jumping on a quick video call with you. So yeah, do some homework and do the work for them to make it easy for them to accept your time.
That's that's a perfect piece. Yeah. And can you explain what exactly did you research? So what did you suggest your recruiters and product managers?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing is just learn a little bit more about the product that they're offering. Learn about what is their unique value proposition. Learn why they are currently exciting in the space. What stage of the company are they in? Are they a Series A company or are they a little bit more established? Um, and craft your experience and your background in a way that matches whatever problem they may or may not be facing. From the outside in, not being in the day-to-day of the company, there's only so much context and knowledge you might gather about what they are building and what problems they're facing. And at the same time, there are some assumptions that you can make. And being able to craft your narrative and your experience in a way that will position you as the person that could help solve some of those problems is ultimately what they're looking to do when they're hiring their next PM or whatever position they're hiring for.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like it. Really cool. So
Awesome.
yeah, I think that's like people definitely need to use this approach. And just like it's interesting, even with this very kind of dedicated approach, like with your homework, everything else, you still have like only 10% response rate, right?
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
probably at best. Yeah. That's
yeah.
just a random estimate, but again, yeah, I mean, you can understand, you can empathize with the other side of the equation. Um, I don't know about you, but there's always LinkedIn messages coming in through my inbox, and there's only so much time that I have in my day. There's only so much time that I can dedicate to helping other people out and doing stuff that isn't aligned with my top priorities. And my top priorities at the moment are my senior PM position and helping build the product and the organization that I'm supporting at the moment. So you can certainly empathize with why people don't respond to every single LinkedIn message. So I think that's why it's important to make it as easy for them as possible to do so.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree, especially when you post a job. Yeah, when you
Yeah.
check LinkedIn, there are like 1,000 applications for this position. And if they're a hiring manager there or a recruiter, I bet they receive like hundreds of messages from this job
Yeah.
post. I personally receive like around 10 messages per day. Most of them are just like a promotion, sales promotion about my business because
Hmm.
my title is a founder and people are looking for founders to upsell something.
Hmm.
And another part is just thank you messages about my podcast because people like it. People add me on LinkedIn and send me gratitudes. And yeah, recruiters reach out to me and other like folks who just want to discuss something like partnerships. So yeah, like at least 10 per day I receive. That's a lot. I really
Yeah.
need, yeah, someone to help me with these messages.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, there's only so many hours in the day that you can dedicate to just responding to
I,
messages.
I, I agree. I agree. Yeah. Awesome. So let's move to interview section. We a little bit covered that, but maybe you can so tell me more about like when did you begin actively interviewing and what was your like overall impression of that interview process, especially now in 2023?
Yeah, I think I must have started maybe end of February or early March with the whole interview process. My impression of it was, well, I guess similar to any interview process that I've ever been on. It's competitive. It's always going to be competitive. The companies are always going to be looking for the best person to do the job that they need to be done, and it's your job to position yourself as the best choice. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that there was any big stark difference with the interviews that I was a part of during that chapter. But I think the approach remains, and the general philosophy for how to excel is just position yourself as the best, and make your do your best effort to do the homework and do the work required. If you really want something, go after it with the best intentions and the best effort that you possibly can.
Mm-hmm. And a part of those homework you already described, like learning about the company, like they're like finding their problems, competitors. How else did you prepare for the interview? Did you do anything specific, like let's say for the application you did like high level research? For the interviews, did you do anything deeper, like anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, for the application, definitely put in a little bit of extra effort to cater it, to personalize it specific to the industry, to highlight areas that were most relevant to the position. For the interviews, it depended on the interview and the stage that I was in. So, there were several, I mean, most tech company interviews have several different stages. Some of them revolve around product sense, some of them around product execution. There's a lot of I guess just core foundational product skills that are being tested when you are applying for a reputable company. And some of those skills are not necessarily skills that you work on a day-to-day in the job. So I think one of the most important things that was very valuable for me was running mock interviews. And I was able to find a service that essentially scheduled, acted as an intermediary for product managers who were looking for jobs to interview other product managers who were also looking for jobs. And that was a really incredible service, because ultimately what you are doing is just helping one another, and you're both doing it for free because you're both in a very similar position. You're both looking for your next opportunity, and you're refining two different skill sets at the same time. You're able to refine the skill set of being interviewed and providing answers for interviews that are common in product sense, product execution, product metrics. And at the same time, you're also putting yourself in the interviewer's position, and you're able to understand, well, this person is communicating in a way that doesn't really make sense to me. So when you put yourself in the interviewer's shoes, you're also able to refine your own approach, because you're able to see from their perspective what resonates with you and what doesn't. So it creates a new level of empathy that you wouldn't have. So I think my highest recommendation would probably be do as many mock interviews as possible to really refine your story, and to be able to take the perspective of the interviewer at the time.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love mock interviews, and I did a lot of mock interviews, and that also helps you to understand your competitor, know your competitor. Yeah, you're competing with other folks, and you have to know like who they are, how they speak about themselves, how they answer those questions, everything. Like because you are like on the same battlefield, right? So, and can you recommend this platform?
Yeah, I believe it's called Stellar Peers, was the
Stellar
platform that I
Peers.
was working on. Again, it's a free service, and all that you did was create, you were given a shared calendar, and you were able to block off time where you were available, and then you would block off time with other PMs who were available at a time that you're available as well. And you hop on to a quick Zoom call, and you have an hour long or 30-minute long interview, and just go back and forth, interview each other. And I probably did maybe 15, 20 of them in the time that I was in between roles. I was doing as many of them as possible to, again, just refine my story and get better, and continue to put in those reps.
Yeah, Stellar Peers. Yeah, I also used Stellar Peers like 4 years ago when I was training, just like overall training for interviews. And that's a really amazing platform. I will leave the link to this platform in the description to this video for folks who are gonna practice as well. And so you mentioned you have around 15, 20 mock interviews, right?
Probably something like that. Yeah.
Okay, and also I believe that there are specific companies you usually practice with Stellar Peers. So when you create a profile as Stellar Peers, you need to define which company you're interviewing for. So Facebook, Google, Amazon. So and you are not interviewing for these companies. What exactly did you practice? What kind of interviews?
Just the general interview questions, product
Just
metrics,
product,
product execution,
just.
product sense,
Mhm.
telling your story,
Mhm.
being able to walk through a use case. There's a lot of resources online that give you a little bit of guidance for what especially big tech companies are looking for in interviews. But a lot of other non-FANG companies also look for very similar questions and skill sets during the product management interview process. So you can feel pretty certain that if you are able to adequately answer a product execution question for 30 minutes or walk through a use case for 45 minutes, and if you can have that back and forth with your interviewer, that you will feel a lot more adequate to be able to answer any question that might come your way in the product world. So
Yeah.
yeah, regardless of the company that you're working for targeting, you're still able to gather a lot of valuable information and data about how to present your answer and exactly what is important to vocalize during your specific answers.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's because it might be confusing for people who go to like Try Exponent or Stellar Peers, that those platforms are only for found companies. But you can also practice interviews for any companies because it's all just pretty similar. Yeah, all the product sense, like product metrics, behavioral questions. You can practice on those platforms. And
Yeah.
Eric, if you can share links that you used that we can share with our viewers, yeah, that would be super helpful as well.
Sure.
So please share with me. Yes, I'll post it in the description to this video as well. All right, let's switch to the company who gave you an offer. Tell me about the process with these companies. And how did you apply? How many interviews did you have with them, and with whom exactly? So let's dig
Yeah,
deeper into
this
that.
is
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. This is all public information within Splash. They have a very nicely documented interview process, and I believe there were about 5 rounds of interviews. The first one being with an HR recruiter who is essentially your support system and able to answer a lot of questions that you might have about the company or whatever is coming up next. I had an interview with the head of product and several different stakeholders who I would be working very closely with. So my designers, my engineers, my customer experience counterparts. So it followed a fairly traditional approach to interviewing, which is just gather a bunch of different opinions from across many different orgs with people who, as a PM, you will be interacting with a lot. So the interview process was relatively straightforward. Again, had some of these more product foundational product questions, as well as a lot of behavioral questions as well. Just really understanding who I am, how I would operate under certain situations, how I would resolve conflicts, how I will support the culture that they've really developed over many, many years, and just making sure that I am going to be a good addition. So I think from that experience, what I was really able to understand and really accept is that if there is an alignment with what you want and what they're looking for, it's almost going to be a no-brainer in some ways. And you just have to put in those reps and really put in the time to find the people, the organization, that is aligned with what you are looking for and what they're looking for as well. There were a lot of companies that I may have had a little bit more experience, or I may have had a little bit more projects that really aligned with whatever they were working on or whatever stage of the company they're on. But ultimately, what led me in this direction, and I think led them to extend me an offer, is the alignment that was felt on both ends, with myself being able to present myself as the best product hire that they could find at that time, and on their end, also just the right company for the right stage and the right people for what I'm looking for as well.
That's awesome. So like how did you apply? How did you find this job? Were you referred to this company?
It wasn't a referral, but the way that it all started was because I was already connected with the recruiter. I had spoken to the recruiter maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So we maintained a connection on LinkedIn again for 4 or 5 years. So I believe somebody in the company, or maybe he himself, posted about the job opening, and I reached out to him. So again, it's an example of some of the efforts that you're putting in. Whether or not you see any results from them today, you may see some results from them later on, because that recruiter and I connected 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't get an offer from the company that he was working with at the time, but we remained connections and we remained in touch, and we followed each other's journey along. And 5 years down the road, something happened. Something did come out of that connection. So it's just another example of whether or not you can see or feel the results today. You never know what will happen down the road from the work and the efforts that you put in today.
Yeah, that's amazing that you mentioned that, because I always tell about the power of networking, like and long-term networking. So you have to start your networking, and you have to start like networking with people right now to be able to have return on investment like in like few years, because you never know when it's going to be paid off. So that's a great example of staying in touch with your recruiter. So if you are not looking for a job right now and recruiter reach out to you, be polite. Response to your recruiter, like stay in touch, like add to the contact on LinkedIn profile. I don't know, like keep liking their posts or whatever. So maybe in a few years it will be paid off. So I think that's a great example of your of this approach.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add to that is just add value as well. Make sure that you're adding value to that relationship, and you're not just taking value from it, and you're not just going to reach out to this person 5 years down the road and ask for a favor. Do your best to share their posts with your audience if it's relevant. Do your best to create a connection if they're looking for a specific role in a different industry or in a different department that you're not a part of, and you know somebody, help them out. You never know how those favors or those actions might come back to support you down the road.
Yeah, I agree. So, and just you said that you presented yourself as the best product for them. So that sounds really amazing, but maybe you have like some specific secret to your success. So we have already talked about like preparation, like maybe something else. How did you present yourself as the best product? Like, tell me a top secret.
I'm not sure if there's a top secret to it, but I think that what really helped me is actually having a true interest in what was being offered. So I really wanted to continue my career as a senior PM. I really wanted to continue my career as a senior PM in a company that inspired and had inspiring people as well. So the fact that there was already an inherent interest in myself to want to be a part of this, it gave me the energy and the focus to commit the time that I needed to do a little bit more extra research to figure out what their problems are that I might be able to support them and help them with. So again, ultimately, what they're looking for is the best candidate to help them fix the problems that they have, or to help them support the problems that they have. So do your best to find what those problems are and speak to how you can solve those problems based on your experience, based on who you are, based on what you want to accomplish. And I think I was able to do that. I was able to see how I've helped other companies grow. I was able to see how I was able to support my team in ways that ultimately enabled them to unlock their goals. And I think I was able to bring that to the interview process in a way that shared the potential that was there. And I think that might have been one of the reasons that I got the opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. And I really I share your opinion, like, because I always think about the company as a point of my interest. If you're interested in companies and a product, if you have a passion, you can put a little bit more energy and effort to do this research. And this is crucial for me. And I feel like when I'm not super interested in this specific company, I really don't want to waste my time and spend my energy on that, like extra research. So, but if you really like this, if you have passion, oh my God, you can do a lot. Yeah, that's I think that's a key, because you can dedicate more time to be like to learn more and show yourself as a best candidate for that. So
Absolutely.
cool. Yeah, perfect. Let's talk about conversion rate. I don't need like specific numbers, but like how many applications or referrals did you have, and how many interviews, just to understand this pipeline
Well,
approximately?
that's difficult to say.
Just approximately, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely applied to dozens of places. Um, it, yeah, dozens of messages sent. I wouldn't say the conversion rate is very high at all. It definitely takes a lot of time and effort, and you will go through a lot of rejection and a lot of not hearing back, or yeah, just ultimately a lot of redirection, because there's a lot of competition out there. But ultimately, I was able to get the offer with Splash, and there was also a competing offer on the table as well. So
Mm.
there were probably dozens of applications, dozens of conversations held, dozens of interviews held, and ultimately that yielded into a couple of opportunities. And that's all you really need is just an opportunity that really excites you. So all you need is one.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree that conversion rate shouldn't be super high. It's just not possible. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, what I hear around, if you have a lot of experience and if you have this qualitative approach, you'll have conversion rate like around like, I mean, like even to the interview, like 20%. So if you apply to like wide range of company, you'll have conversion rate like 1 to 3%, right? And if your resume is not great, so the conversion rate is always like super low, and conversion rate to the offer is definitely like just around like, I don't know, 1% probably from all
Right.
the your even lower. Yeah. So that's yeah, the expectation for folks who are going to start their job search journey should be really like not high. Yeah, otherwise it might cost you some mental issues. So tell me about your competing offer, and how did you make decision to take an offer from Splash?
Ultimately, I made the decision because again, I feel like I brought up this word a lot during this call, but alignment. It just came down to what felt like the best option for me and for what I wanted to accomplish in my future. And um, I was able to see and believe the potential of the organization, and clearly they were able to see the same in me, and that is ultimately what um, encouraged me to move in that direction. I think that they were able to present themselves in a way that was really appealing to the values that I found most important to me at this point in my life. And with that, I just felt very comfortable moving in their direction. And again, like I said at the top of this call, yeah, it's all worked out really well, and I'm very glad that I took this step in this direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like your strategic approach about your future, your potential, not just like right now, they offered me more money and I decided to take this offer. No, no, no. I think that's just not a great approach. I really like that. Okay, that this company will help me with align with my future strategy and it will bring me more than like maybe immediate results. So I like
Yep.
it. So, okay, what do you think will happen in the job market? When do you expect it to improve? Maybe notice any changes now?
I definitely don't have a magic crystal ball to know when it'll change. But I do see that everything is cyclical in a lot of different areas of this world that we're living in. Markets are cyclical. And I imagine that the job market will be also going through another cycle at some point in the future. Right now, seems like there's still a bit of a lull in the market, and I think eventually that will kind of turn around as optimism around economy, markets, finances are alleviated. And I have no idea when that will be, but I think that all you can do is live in the present moment and optimize what we have at the moment. And right now, if you are in between jobs, I think what you can do is continue to refine those skills, continue to learn about what it is that you want, and as difficult as it may be sometimes, just continue the process of seeking what you deserve and what you want, because ultimately, with that repeated effort, eventually your efforts will yield something, whether that is exactly what you desired or whether it's a step in the direction that you want, or even if it's just new connections, you will be building up skills that will take you where you want to be.
I absolutely agree with you. That's great. So, my last question: what do people need to do to land a job right now? Maybe you can provide any recommendation for them apart from you already mentioned, or maybe you can repeat that we already mentioned because
Yeah,
we're
I
repeating
think
again and again.
yeah, I think it's a little bit of what we've been discussing for the majority of this call is just continue to uh, become very clear with what it is that you want. Focus on quality of uh, the effort that you put out there over quantity, and put in as much practice as you can to find um, the best story, to find the best narrative that really presents you in the best light possible. The way that I did that more tactically was through mock interviewing, through um, practicing my story and my pitch over and over again. But people can take very different approaches to that, whether that is just doing these mock interviews or writing out your story in a way, pitching it to your friend. There's many different approaches that you can take, but as long as you want something, I think that you can continue to put in those reps and continue to build lessons and build the knowledge that you need in order to get to that next step. And like we said, whether that gets you there tomorrow or months from now, what is important is that you're building up skills that will take you in that direction that you want to go.
Yeah, 100% true. Thank you, Eric, for sharing that invaluable insights on how product manager can successfully secure job offers in 2023. Your tips and guidance will certainly empower PMs to stand out in a competitive job market. And yeah, we can probably create a book together from this interview. We can use some tools to decode this audio interview and video interview to the writings and publish it as a book, because like so many cool things you mentioned today. Let's go out there and beat the competition and land the dream job. So if you found this video helpful, please give a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more valuable content. If you need assistance with refining your resume, optimizing your LinkedIn profile, or preparing for job interviews, you can schedule a session with me at annanaumova.com. Once again, Eric, thank you. Thank you again. And thank you everyone for watching this video.
Awesome. Thank you for having me here, Anna.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.